We created the most secure border in U.S. history, built hundreds of miles of border wall, hundreds and hundreds of miles. Got Mexico to give us 28,000 soldiers free of charge. Said to the president, I really like the president of Mexico a lot. He's great. He's a socialist, but you can't have everything. But we got along great. But I said to Mexico, you have to give us 28,000 soldiers on the border because you're letting a lot of people in. They looked at me like, is this guy crazy? They said, no, we won't do that. One of their representatives, top person, good man. The State Department laughed when I said it. A woman was wonderful. She said, you know, I've been trying to get things like that for 25 years, sir. It's not doable. I said, you want to bet? Bet you anything you want. It's doable. It's going to be easy. It'll take me minutes. It's not doable. So I met with him, came in. I said, we need 28,000 soldiers. We want to have a policy of remain in Mexico. We don't want them to come. They're going to remain in Mexico until they get approved. We did all sorts of policies having to do with Title 42. You're sick, you can't come into our country, everything. But I said, you're going to have to do it. He said, no, sir, we're not going to be doing that. I said, here's what I'm doing. I'm putting a 25% tariff on everything that's sold in Mexico that comes into our country on Monday morning. It was Friday. And I'm signing it before your very eyes. Here, I'm going to sign it. Would you watch? Goes into effect on Monday morning. This was on a Friday. He said, may I be excused for just a minute? I'd like to make a phone call. I wonder who he called. He called my friend, who is really a good person, by the way, and loves this country. And he came back into the room within 5 minutes, and he said, sir, it would be our honor to give you 28,000 soldiers free of charge. And we had the safest border in the history of our country, by far. And that means drugs and human trafficking, which is mostly in women, I hate to say. Human trafficking, you know, you think of it as an ancient crime. It's not. The internet's made it bigger than it's ever been. But we stopped. We put that to a level that hasn't been seen in decades. And drugs were down. Now they're 11 times more than coming in just 3. 11 times more. They're pouring in fentanyl. And we terminated another thing called catch and release. We catch them in our country, and then we release them in our country. What a great policy, catch and release. We ended that. Think of it, catch and release. So Democrat, you catch them in the United States. They could be the worst criminals you've ever seen, and we release them in the United States. I said, what the hell kind of a policy is that? So that ended also. We did a great job, but just as I promised, I ended the disaster known as NAFTA, the worst trade deal ever made, and replaced it with the USMCA, the best trade deal perhaps ever made, and a massive victory for our farmers and for your Georgia farmers and your manufacturers, USMCA. You know how I know it's great? Because they want to renegotiate the deal. Mexico and Canada, they want to renegotiate the deal. They're trying to renegotiate it with the Biden administration. And I just say to those in the Biden administration, all of whom are listening right now, by the way, don't do it. Don't do it. They took advantage of us for years and years. Now we have a deal where, frankly, it's a much better deal for us than it is for them. Don't renegotiate the deal. It's great, though. What we did is great. Isn't it nice where they want to renegotiate a deal for a change? Because these countries always rip us off. I used to look at some of the deals that were made. They were so bad. I said, do these people like our country that are making these horrible deals? I stood up to China like no administration has ever done before. And I made people aware that China was ripping us off. Nobody knew that. They said, oh, China's so wonderful. Bringing hundreds of billions of dollars pouring into the treasury from China with taxes and tariffs, when no other president had ever gotten 10 cents, not 10 cents from China. Working with our Secretary of Agriculture, Sonny Perdue from your state, good man. We negotiated more than 50 trade agreements to boost exports by billions and billions of dollars for the American farmer. We appointed nearly 300 federal judges and 3 great Supreme Court justices. Gotten some great rulings. Oh, they would go crazy every time they saw me appointing a Supreme Court judge. I fully rebuilt the U.S. military. We had more ammunition than at any time. And as I said before, now we have almost none. I imposed a powerful travel ban to keep radical Islamic terrorists and radical jihadists the hell out of our country. Took a lot of heat. They said, no, let them come in. Oh, really? Why do you want them to come in? Why do you want them to come in? Let them come in. Why? Tell me, please tell me why. And if you just take a look at those 4 years, how did we do on that front? We did great. We accomplished all of this and more in just that short period of time. And just imagine what we can accomplish in the next 4 years. We can make our country greater than ever before. We have some big obstacles. One of the biggest obstacles, I think, is that we will have, I believe, 15 million people in our country from prisons and mental institutions and everything. You know, we got to, some rough ones, some real rough ones, we got to get them out. We will do it. We got to get them out. Here's just some of the bold agenda I'll put into effect when we become the 47th president of the United States. Before I even arrive at the Oval Office, shortly after I win the presidency, I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled, and we'll do it quickly. We'll do it quickly. Know them both very well. We'll get it done fast. Would have never happened if I was president, by the way. All those people that are dead would be alive today. All those cities that are burned and shot to the ground, missiles going into every building, knocking the hell out of them. And then they say 2 people were hurt. No, many, many people were killed. The numbers are far worse than you hear about. You see them knock out like 12 missiles go into buildings collapsing all over the place, and they say 2 people were injured. No, no. Hundreds and even thousands of people were killed in those attacks individually. And hundreds of thousands of people are being killed. I'll get it done very quickly. Before I ever get to office, you need the power of the Oval Office to be able to do it. You need that, but I'll get it done very quickly if it's still going on, which is hard to believe it could continue. It's a horrible, horrible, disgusting war. I'm the only candidate who can make this promise. I will prevent World War III. I will prevent it. And now people believe it, too. And without me, it will happen. And this won't be a conventional war with army tanks going back and forth, shooting each other. This will be nuclear war. This will be obliteration, perhaps obliteration of the entire world. I will prevent it. Nobody else can say that. I know all the players. I deal with them, and I dealt with them very successfully. And they respected your president, and they respected your country. And now they don't have any respect for your president or your country. To stop the Marxist prosecutors who release rapists and murderers while persecuting conservatives, I will direct a completely overhauled, and this is so important, a completely overhauled DOJ to investigate every radical DA in America for their illegal, racist, and reverse enforcement of the law. I will immediately cancel every open borders policy of the Biden administration. You can come into our country, but you have to come in legally. Under Biden, other countries are emptying out their prisons, insane asylums, and mental institutions, and dumping everyone right here in the good old USA, following the Eisenhower model. People don't realize, but Dwight Eisenhower is very, very tough in this issue, the toughest. Very, very tough. You don't think of him as being that way, but he was very tough in this issue. We will use all necessary state, local, federal, and military resources to carry out the largest domestic deportation operation in American history. When you look at the crime statistics and you see the crime, tremendous amounts of crime are pouring into our country, but we'll get the bad ones out very fast. You know, we'll be working with the local police. They know every bad one. And we're going to give the police back the respect and honor that they deserve. I will ask every state and federal agency to identify every known or suspected gang member in America, and every one of them that is here illegally will be picked up and will be sent back to the country from which they came. And to further deter illegal immigration, I will sign a day one executive order. We're going to do an executive order day one, so important, ending automatic citizenship for children of illegal aliens. Under the Biden administration, illegal aliens are treated better than our vets, okay? Not going to happen. And because we're so open, armed, and stupid, please come. They come. If you said you can't come, they won't come. That's why I was very successful. I said, no, we're not going to allow you to come in. And we really had it stopped. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. I was talking to Brandon Judd, head of Border Patrol, and Tom Homan, an absolute classic, Tom Homan. You see Tom, central casting. But these guys are total pros, and we were talking recently, and they can't believe what's happened, but we can clog it up in about 2 weeks and really almost complete the job. Because we want people to come into our country, but we want them to come in legally. We want to know who they are, where they're from, what problems do they bring. Are they murderers? We'd rather not have you, sir. I'm sorry, you murdered 4 people. If you don't mind, we'd rather not have you. To save our economy from Joe Biden's inflation catastrophe and economic disaster, I will deliver tax cuts, energy price cuts, and interest rates cuts, the likes of which you have never seen before, except in the Trump administration, actually. We will pass the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act, which means if a foreign country charges tariffs or taxes on our products, we will charge their products at the exact same rate. It's called an eye for an eye. Now, some of these politicians, India is very high on tariffs, and China is unbelievably high. Brazil is high. A lot of them are high. And I go to some of the politicians. We had a senator from a great state in Pennsylvania who no longer ran because I wouldn't give him the endorsement. This guy fought me all the time. I said, let me ask you something. Toomey. I said, let me ask you, Toomey, let me ask you this question. If China's charging us 150% tariff and we're selling the same product and we charge them nothing, would it be okay if we charged them 150? No, sir, that's not free trade. Okay, how about they charge us 150. How about we charge them 100%? No, sir. How about 50? How about 10? No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. I said, how stupid is this? Or is he representing them in some way? And all I say is reciprocal trade. If they charge us, we charge them. Now, what will happen, a lot of them will just drop it. And if they don't, that's okay, too, because we'll charge them the same thing. We'll take in billions and billions and hundreds of billions of dollars. Reciprocal trade. I spoke to a couple of senators, and then it's not their thing. Business is not their thing. And I said, I described the reciprocal trade. They said, okay, let me get this straight. So they charge us, right? Yeah. And they charge us, and then we charge them the same thing, right, if they don't take it off. Yeah, that's right. You got my vote. Pretty simple, isn't it? It'll make a difference like you wouldn't believe. And it'll also bring back a lot of money into our country, and a lot of jobs back into our country. But we'll also probably be putting a border tax. You know, these countries come in to raid our country. They steal our country. They're stealing it. If you look at Germany with their cars, they don't take our cars, we take their cars. And I did a lot of changes, but we have to do something because they don't take our cars. I asked Angela Merkel, Angela, how many Chevrolets do you have in the middle of Berlin? Why, I believe nothing. I said, you're right, you have nothing. How many Mercedes-Benzes and BMWs do we have? It's like you can't even see without seeing them all over our highways. They're very good cars. But you know what? They've got to be fair. And they're not fair because they think we're stupid. That's the only reason. They think we're so stupid. Our leaders have been stupid for so many years. We're giving away our country. We have $36 trillion in debt. We can wipe out that debt by being smart and also by being energy dominant. We will make so much money. We make so much money and sell it to countries that don't have liquid gold under their feet. We have more liquid gold. I call it liquid gold because that's what it's better than gold. We have more liquid gold under our feet than any other country in the world. Nobody knows that. I did something called Anwar in Alaska, probably the biggest find ever. I think it's bigger than Saudi Arabia, but it's at least similar, but could be bigger. The first day in office, by the way, Reagan tried to get it, he couldn't get it done. Other presidents tried to get it, they couldn't get it done. The first day in office, they terminated it. This was going to make Alaska into something like nobody's ever seen before. But the biggest beneficiary would have been the United States of America. We would have been selling that oil to Japan, to China, all over the world. We would have been selling it. But we will get that back and we'll do things. But nobody could get it approved. A friend of mine called, he said, I can't believe you got Anwar. Ronald Reagan could not do it. I will revoke China's most favored nation trade status. Can you believe it? They get a most favored. Because they say we're a growing country, we're a developing nation, they call it. We are a developing nation, so we need a big advantage over the United States. Well, we're a developing nation also, if you think. We're developing in the wrong way. We're going in the wrong way. That's how we're developing. We're going to turn it around. I will gain total independence from China, and we'll work with China. We'll have a great relationship. I had a great relationship with President Xi until COVID hit our shores, and that was just too much. We actually made an incredible trade deal with China. I don't even talk about it because COVID was so bad. What came out of Wuhan, the Wuhan labs, and I said that right from the beginning. I never changed. Just like I was right about Live Golf. Was I right about Live Golf? I was right. I said, you better make a deal. You guys, the golfers, you better make a deal. I was right. I called that one exactly right, didn't I? Because if they merge, if you don't make a deal, you're not going to get anything. And a lot of guys got left out in the cold. But I called this one, much more importantly, I called this one. And I'll hold the Chinese Communist Party accountable for unleashing the China virus upon the world. And unlike my competitor, who I got elected, by the way, Ron DeSantis, who voted to gut Medicare and voted to gut Social Security 3 times and to raise the retirement age to 70. That's a big increase. I will always protect Medicare and Social Security for our great nation. You know, it's one thing about a politician. They can lie during a campaign, but, you know, when a guy wanted to decapitate Medicare and Social Security, and you earned those things, you know, you earned them for a long time, you've earned them. But when a guy wants to do it, and then they run and they say, no, you know, we don't want to do it, we're only kidding, no, we don't want to do it, they always go back to doing it. I see that with politicians. It's sort of like when somebody's a never-Trumper, and then we win and they come and they just absolutely kiss my ass. Please, give me a try. Please, sir, please. I love you very much. I love you. So we give them a shot. They always end up being a never-Trumper. I don't know. When they're bad, they're bad. But the truth is with politicians, and I did know politicians long before I actually officially ran for office because I dealt with a lot of politicians. But when a politician has an idea to hurt Social Security, make the age 70, hurt Medicare, 100% they go back to it after the election, 100%. So you can vote for Ron DeSantis because he voted 3 times to destroy. He also wants to put a national sales tax of 23% on all of our citizens, and you don't want that. That's very bad for people that don't have a lot of money. You're going to be paying the same sales tax as rich people? I don't think that's going to work too well. But he wanted to do that, and he fought hard to do it because he's a disciple of Paul Ryan, and Paul Ryan is a disaster. You don't want any disciples of Paul Ryan. I will immediately sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children. And likewise, I will immediately take care of this. I will keep men out of women's sports. And who believes I even have to say this? Can you imagine having to say this? Where did this country go? Where did our minds go? They got blown up by drugs or something. I will sign a law prohibiting child sexual mutilation in all 50 states. Now, can you believe it? Sexual mutilation. And one of the big things, I hate to even say because it's so ridiculous. Can you imagine saying this 10, 15 years ago? I will give you back your parental rights. Parental rights. Who wouldn't have parental rights? Can you believe you have to even say this? I will give you back your parental rights. If they could have gone back 15 years and somebody heard that statement being made, they say, no, that's crazy to make a statement like that. Of course, they have parental rights. You can have your parental rights back. In addition, I will not give 1 penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or mask mandate from kindergarten through college. And as I announced this week, to continue my long record of standing up to Big Pharma, I will establish a special presidential commission to investigate what is causing the decades-long increase in childhood diseases, autoimmune disorders, autism, obesity, infertility, and other chronic health problems. Where is it all coming from? Where is it all coming from? We started a big program, but they ended it very quickly. Where is it all coming from? To uphold our Second Amendment, I'll ask Congress to put a bill on my desk delivering national concealed carry reciprocity. And I will protect innocent life just as I did for 4 strong years. 4 strong years. Bring back free speech in America. That's what we have to do. We're going to bring back free speech. Right now, we're a country that doesn't know what's happening. We're a country that hasn't been given free speech. And when you watch the cover-up of the fake news media of crimes that are being had, where Biden steals money and they don't want to have it. This would have been the biggest story 20, 25 years ago, maybe much closer than that. The things that they're revealing and are being revealed would have been front-page news. Everybody would have wanted a fake Pulitzer Prize because a Pulitzer Prize deal is fake. How about this? I'm suing the Pulitzer Foundation because they gave the Pulitzer Prize to reporters for their accurate and magnificent and beautiful reporting on Russia, Russia, Russia. They were exactly wrong. It was a hoax. So therefore, they should give back the Pulitzer Prizes. So let's see how that one turns out. They got a tough one there. They gave out the Pulitzer Prize to people that wrote about Russia, Russia for their wonderful reporting. They were exactly wrong on their reporting. So we'll see how that turns out. Finally, to restore pride in our history and confidence in our future, I will lead a massive year-long salute to America to celebrate the 250th anniversary of July 4th, 1776. July 4th, 1776. Big, big time. Thank you. Thank you. That's nice to hear that. Some people like to use other dates. If you don't mind, I'm going to stick with that one. Is that okay? This is what we must do to restore our country to greatness. The USA is a mess. Our economy is crashing. Inflation is out of control. China, Russia, Iran, North Korea have formed together, and they're a menacing and destructive coalition and force Our currency is crashing and will soon no longer be the world standard. That's like losing a war. It'll be the greatest defeat for our country in 200 years if that happens. People don't know how big that is. But it won't happen with me, not even a chance. Just like Russia would never have happened with Ukraine, and China would not even having a thought about raiding Taiwan. Some Democrats said last week, well, how do we know? And this wonderful announcer, this wonderful pundit said, well, he was there 4 years. We never heard anything about it. They never talked about it. I talked to Putin. I talked to President Xi, President Putin. I said, we're not going to do it. They never even brought it up. Now, as soon as I leave, they've got bombers flying over Taiwan. Ukraine is one of the worst things anyone's ever seen. It's just a mess. What a shame, what a shame, what a shame. All those lives are lost. If you took the worst 5 presidents in the history of the United States and added them up, they would not have done near the destruction to our country as Joe Biden and the Biden administration have done. They wouldn't. What they've done to our country. We are a failing nation. We are a nation in decline. And now these radical left lunatics want to interfere with our elections by using law enforcement. We're not going to let it happen. It's totally corrupt, and we can't let it happen. This is the final battle. This is the most important election we've ever had. With you at my side, we will demolish the communists, the fascists, the Marxists, the deep state, whatever you want to call them. We will expel the warmongers from our government. Let's start a war every week. Let's start a war. We don't want wars. We can't afford wars, and we don't want death. We want to keep people living, whether it's here or other countries. We don't want to kill people for no reason. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists. We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country and wants to destroy our country. We will rout the fake news media. They don't want to talk about anything. If the Democrats do something bad, they will not write it. You know, you can't have a scandal if the fake news won't talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. The job that they're doing in Congress is so amazing. Jamie and Jim and all of the people together. But the news doesn't want to pick it up. These are the biggest scandals ever in the history of our country, where a president of the United States is being paid off. And to try and deflect that, he said, let's try and arrest a president that served before him and had an unbelievable success record, a record like really very few presidents, if any, have ever had over a 4-year period.